This is the stage where we're going to form the blank, and I believe that it's one of the more critical stages as you're getting your reed ready. We want to avoid twisting at all costs, and basically what I'm trying to do is line up my blank on both sides here, right where the collar, where ultimately where that first wire will be. So I'm going to hold it in place. I use some butcher's twine so my reed is still damp from the profiling and from the scoring and marking the wire placement. I'm going to put a piece right here and a piece of basically butcher's twine, and I'm wrapping it tightly right next to each other, trying to hold that place that I was talking about intact here. So I'm looking to see that those line up, that I see two distinct sides here. And I do. So I'll continue. And I'm going to wrap it pretty tightly right up above that collar that we made. Do a half hitch. I might do two to hold it into position. So I just make a little loop. Some people use rubber bands at this stage. There are lots of different possibilities. So now that I have my reed ready, I use a flat pin. You can kind of see here that there's a little bit of a taper on the end of this pin. And I use this handle that has an adjustable chuck on the top, you know, kind of like the top of a drill. And I just twist that in. I just find this easier to use. It's a little bit big and bulky, but it's easier to hold. So I also use heat. So I have a torch here that I'm going to heat up my mandrel. So the pliers I use have this little hole in them, and I'm going to use the shape to help me form the reed. And I want to make sure that I don't twist at all in this process. So I'm going to line this up. I don't want to do it crooked because then I'm going to push this offset, and the spot that I was trying to keep lined up is going to start to overlap onto each other, and I'll get a slipped blade. So I'm going to put this here about 1/4 inch back. And I'm going to hold it tightly, and I'm going to hold my mandrel, turn on my torch, and heat the end of the mandrel. About 30 seconds or so. Don't touch it so you don't burn yourself. And I go a little bit beyond where the line is on the mandrel tip. These are Rieger forming flat pins. Turn off my torch. Now, when I put this in, I want to make sure that I do it straight here. So I'm going to open the reed just slightly. And if it opens evenly, then I know the pressure and everything is lined up really well. I'm going to push that in, get a little sizzle there. I'm going to squeeze a little bit. I squeeze from the sides and the top and bottom in the back third or so of the blank. Then I'll push a little bit more. As I get closer to where the collar will be, I'm actually just doing top to bottom. Then when I know I have the mandrel support underneath the reed, and notice I'm not twisting, I'm opening everything. I like to push it a little bit beyond the mark on the mandrel because the reed probably will shrink while it's drying, and I want to make sure that it's big enough so that I can avoid reaming if at all possible. So as I'm working on this, I'm kind of watching this area. I could unwrap it a little bit, but I see that these look like they're lined up pretty well. Here, that one over, whoop, there we go. Overlaps a little bit. There we go, that's good. So I'm just looking, I can kind of correct that a little bit at this stage of the game. So I'm gonna mush it a lot, top to bottom here, and on the sides in the back third or so. And it's not loose. I want it to be tight. And I'm kind of looking here to be sure that I see that it's nice and round. And at this point, I'm going to just take the mandrel, and I'm going to just let this little cocoon dry for at least 24 hours before I put the wires on. You can kind of see it's nice and round, snug, no gaps. I'm going to let it dry 24 hours at least. A lot of times it ends up being more, and I don't even use a drying rack. I just make a pile on my reed desk. And when it dries, we'll come back and put the wires on and wrap the blank.